Yo, what is good, everybody? Well, I'm back. Jay What Ifs, back at it again with What If Deku Was Born in America? This time, it's part two. So what I'm gonna need y'all to do is, I'm gonna need y'all to go downstairs, go to your kitchen, get yourself some snacks, and I want you guys to peep game, and I want y'all to lock in, because this is a good one. This is a good one today. I promise, y'all will like this one. So, I'm not going to keep holding y'all, so without further ado, let's get into What If Deku Was Born in America, Part 2. So, it's a overly ordinary day, and Izuku feels it's almost too normal. And suddenly, somebody who's not so normal bursts into a quote-unquote normal way. He bursts in the room, and it's revealed that it's All Might. And everybody's like, wait, All Might, you're here? And everybody just starts going crazy. And he's just like, settle down, class. I am going to be your new, hero. I'm going to be your new, why do I always forget? I'm going to be your new hero course teacher. So, without any more introductions, put these on and meet me outside. Because as I always like to say, the clothes make the pros. And everybody just gets their everybody gets their outfits on, their costumes on, and everybody walks outside and it's my hero, and it's just it's super cool, you know? And we actually get to see Izuku's hero costume, which I'm going to say, if you guys have seen Luck Voltia from Black Clover, it's heavily inspired from that. So his boot, you know how he has lightning boots and lightning gauntlets. So his boots, they're high heeled pretty much, but not really. I don't really know how to explain it. They go all the way up to his mid quad, and then he also has a lightning jacket with his his arms are covered with lightning. And they go all the way up to his shoulder, and it's like a lightning jacket pretty much almost. And then he's wearing a brown belt, two brown belts, and that just have not spare power. They're just for drip, you know. He also has a compression shirt and some baggy black pants. And everybody's like he's looking drippy, and all I'm gonna say is, you know how it be. So after this, Kaminari's like, yo, that outfit is so manly, and everybody's like, yeah, we agree. And Izuku's like, thanks, y'all look good as well. And after this, it's actually revealed what they're gonna be doing, and All Might says, all right, so as you guys know, we're out in the training grounds today, so we're going to be doing a little bit of a 2-on-2 hero versus villains. So the teams are going to be Kaminari and Izuku versus Tokoyami and Asui, and then he goes on and lists everyone else. After this, Izuku, they go to the training ground, and Izuku's going to be a hero, and then Tokoyami and Asui are going to be villains, and Kaminari's a hero with Izuku. And Kaminari's about to try and make up a plan, and Izuku's just like, nah, I got this. And Izuku, he actually drains all of the power from the building, except for the one room with the bomb room. And after this, apparently they were trying to rush at them because they thought that was the only way. Tokoyami actually went ballistic because the entire place is completely dark. So Asui stayed in the bomb room, so she didn't really get hurt by this, but Izuku just hears loud crashes and Tokoyami screaming, help! And he immediately rushes up there and he pumps all of the energy back in the building, and Tokoyami just passes out, and Asui runs to him, and Izuku's like, wait, what happened? And he's just like, anyways, I gotta continue the fight. So what he does is he immediately dodges out of the way of Asui, and he touches the bomb, and then he immediately runs back over and checks on Tokoyami, and he carries him out and goes and takes him to Recovery Girl. And after this, he feels bad because it's he's the reason why he threatened Kaminari's life, he threatened his own life, he threatened Asui's life, he threatened everybody's life, and he feels he feels like crap. So he's sitting in the room with Tokoyami, and Asui walks in and she's like, is he okay? And Izuku's like, yeah, he's fine. He should wake up here soon, is what Recovery Girl said. I'm just gonna tell you all this right now. I'm going like super off script because I don't like how I scripted it out in the first place. Because I did it all like last night in like a super like rushed fashion. Like I was gonna make like Izuku like depressed and him having to go to therapy, and I was just like, nah, that's way too slice of life. So we're doing this instead. And anyways, it cuts back to Asu walking in, and she's like, yeah, it was kind of scary. And like at this point, like she's kind of scared of Tokoyami, and Izuku's like, no, it's my fault. Like I shouldn't have dumped all the power out of the building in the first place. Like that in itself is a stupid move, because what if you guys had like a trigger that if there was any electricity in the building that was changed at all, in order to like stop the bomb from being diffused, it blew up, you know? And also he's like, yeah, I guess you're right. After this, Tokoyami actually walks up and he's pretty silent, and Izuku says, look man, I'm so sorry, like I didn't know that it was gonna happen. And Tokoyami says, no, it's my fault. I should have informed you. And like I should have informed the class that in darkness my quirk tends to go crazy. And like Tsuyu, she's already walked out, so she didn't hear any of that. But they're walking together and they're just talking, and eventually like it's like really like dark, and Tokoyami's about to lose control. He's like, Izuku, run away. And Izuku's like, why? And he just starts sparking electricity in his hands, and Tokoyami's like, wait, what? And his like dark shadow's like at a minimum right now, and he's like, how are you? And he's just like, lightning creates like a punch of light, so it's fine, trust me. And like Tokoyami's just like in awe, because there's like very few people that can actually control Tokoyami like that. And eventually like they both go home and they end up passing out. Like Izuku just like is scrolling on his phone and like on his bed, and he went straight to his room because he kind of forgot to go eat dinner. And Melissa walks in the room and is just like, yo, I heard about what happened. You almost took out like what, 4 of your classmates, including yourself. And he's just like, yeah. And Melissa's just like, you're so stupid. Like, and he's just like, hey, just like, who cares? We handle this situation. And Melissa's like, nah, but like, in all seriously, like, are you doing okay? And he's like, yeah, I'm doing okay. But who told you about it? And she says that like, oh, it's a rumor, like it's going all around the school. And he's just like, oh, why? And he's like, oh, everybody's gonna know, aren't they? And Melissa's like, oh yeah, for sure. Pony's actually the one who told me in the first place. And Izuku's like, how did Pony find out? And she's just like, oh, Pony just has like a crap ton of sources in 1A. Like apparently her and Asui are like best friends, and Asui is the one, and Izuku cuts her off and is like, Asui is the one that is like the whole reason, or not the whole reason, but is like one of the major people affected. Yeah. And she's just like, well, it seems like you're living it up. And Izuku's just like, yeah, I guess I am. And Melissa just sits with him and just like scrolls on her phone in his room. And he's like, okay, so are you gonna get out? Like, and Melissa's like, nah, I'm here to annoy you. And Izuku's like, okay, whatever. So they're just talking, and eventually like Izuku says like, yeah, I feel like super bad though. And like Melissa just comforts him and is like, look, it's not your fault. Like realistically, Tokoyami should have informed you guys about like his situation with his quirk. And Izuku's like, yeah, I guess, but still, I mean, it was kind of stupid in the first place. And he explains why. And Melissa's like, yeah, well, that's true. At the end of the day though, it's not much you can do, because you wouldn't have known. And you did a smart thing by not taking the light out of the room at least, because then it would have actually been stupid, because that's where the bomb was placed in. And he's like, yeah, I guess you're right. So after this, the next day, they are all going back, they're all in the classroom, and I'm going to say that the USJ is announced, and I was just like, okay, everybody, get your permission slip signed. And Izuku's like, where, what? And I was like, oh yeah, we're going to the USJ. And everybody's like, wait, what? And Izuku, Tokoyami, Asui, and Kaminari all just like quiet, like, how are we going to the USJ? Like, that's the Universal Studios Japan. And as I was like, not Universal Studios Japan, before any of you guys get your hopes up. It's the Unforeseen Simulation joint. And all of them are just like, oh, that makes more sense. Everybody quiets down, and he gives them all permission slips, and Izuku's like, I bet. And then he's like, but first, I want to get some training in. So what he does is, he goes to one of the, like, training grounds, Zeta, I think, or one of the training grounds, and he's just like, for like 7 hours, it's 10 o'clock at night, and Izuku's just training. Eventually he's like, oh crap, I used too much energy, and he just passes out. And for some reason, Aizawa was actually there, like, watching him, because he thinks that Izuku is just, like, he wants to be there for Izuku just in case, and he ends up passing out. Like, he was in the right for that. And, like, Aizawa catches him and takes him to his house, and he's like, oh, and he informs, like, Izuku's parents, he informs Izuku's parents, he's like, oh yeah, by the way, we're going to be going to the USJ. And they're like, oh, that's cool. And they're like, but we didn't really know anything about it. And he's like, oh yeah, that's right. And he gives them the permission slip to be signed. And the next day, Izuku walks in class and is like, oh crap, I never got the permission slip signed. And he's like freaking out. Like, he goes up to Aizawa and he's like, hey, Mr. Aizawa. And he's like, don't worry, kid. I know you forgot. Don't worry. I went over to your house last night and they had signed it and given it to me. And he's like, oh, thank God. And he's like, wait, you went to my house? And he's like, yeah, how do you think you got in bed after like 10 hours of training, after 7 hours of training? And he's like, I thought that was a dream. And Aizawa just like face palms, and eventually that day they actually, they all go to the USJ, and Izuku, like, he tells Aizawa, he's like, hey, something doesn't feel right. I don't know what. And Aizawa's like, I don't know. Pretty weird. He's like, and because he can feel the electricity of like a bunch of people in the room. And flashback to on the bus, because I did kind of skip past this part. Everybody's just talking about who the strongest is, and Bakugo's like, no, it's me. And also he's like, actually, I'm pretty sure it's Izuku. I mean, he flooded the building with electricity, and he almost like took out everything. And everybody's like, yeah, I know. And he's like, hey, that wasn't entirely my fault. And Tokoyami, and Asui says, but then again, it is Tokoyami that was the one who was doing major damage, and Tokoyami just stays quiet. And Izuku's like, hey, Tokoyami, and they both just sit next to each other, and like, Tokoyami and him are friends now, and they're just talking, having fun, and cutting up and laughing, and eventually they get there, and then we have the scene of him telling Aizawa about it, and Aizawa says, that's weird, but regardless, we still have to go in. They walk in, and 13 gives her usual, like, super boring speech, and Izuku still is, like, feeling super weird, and he feels like a bunch of, like, static electricity built up, and he's just like, Aizawa, something still doesn't feel right. And he ends up putting, like, a stop in the door, and Kirishima's like, hey, there are villains down there. Are those fake? Like, I didn't know, like, UA had the money to hire pro heroes. And Aizawa was like, we don't. And he immediately jumps down there, and Izuku's like, he sees the mist about to form, and he's just like, I have to help. And he immediately, unlocking a new sense of speed, like, he takes the word of, like, lightning fast to a whole nother level, and he ends up getting everyone outside, and he runs back inside, going back to check, when all of a sudden the portal, like, collapses in on himself, and he ends up getting teleported to the water area, and he's like, and he's worn out, and he gets transported on a boat, and he's like, man, I'm tired now, that was crazy, and he's like, oh, but I still have to defend myself. So he takes some power from the major point of the USJ, which kind of like kills a little bit of the power inside, like a very small bit, and he's like, okay, I can't take everything, and he just zaps the water, which fries like all of the villains that are just chilling there. And he's like, all right, now that those guys are taken care of, and he walks over and he helps Aizawa, and he's like, hey, Aizawa, that thing doesn't have a pulse, referring to the Nomu. And Aizawa's like, wait, what? And Aizawa just gets flung, and he's like, oh. And Izuku's like, no, Mr. Aizawa. And he's like, you're gonna pay for this. And he pulls 120 volts into his body. And then he immediately, like, he rushes at the Nomu, jumping on top of its shoulders, frying its brain with all 120 volts. And you're probably thinking, I thought you said in the last video that his maximum was 100. And it is. He surpassed his limits. And eventually he just passes out, and he's sitting and he's just laying there like passed out, and Aizawa comes over and like Shigaraki teleported away, and like Ida ran off, got All Might gets there and sees only all of the students sitting outside, and cops like surrounding the building, and All Might bursts in and sees that everyone's taken out. Like all of the villains are like captured already. Like Aizawa wrapped them all in a scarf, and he sees that there's only one like person who's injured, or two people that are injured, Aizawa and Izuku. And he's like, "No, young Midoriya, or young Shield," and he runs over and he just gets to see the scene of Izuku looking up at Aizawa, and he's like, "Did I run fast enough to save everyone? And you?" And Aizawa looks down at him with like the blood going down his face. "Yeah, you did, kid. You went pretty fast. I'm proud of you." And Izuku's like, "Nice. I guess I could finally make up for the fact of what I did to Asumi and Kaminari and Tokoyami." And he finally just passes out again, and Aizawa's just like, "Man, he gotta stop. He has to let that go." And eventually, after this, let's see. So that was mostly the part where I was going off script. I couldn't tell if you guys like could tell. That's fairly like of a rush part that I'm doing because I want to get into the sports festival. It's not that I don't like covering the USJ. It's just I really like covering the sports festival. I don't so much like covering the cavalry battle because it's just like I feel like there's not a lot to go along with it, and with a few of the what if Dekus that I'm gonna make, the what ifs I'm going to make, I feel like I want to start slipping more into paying more attention to the USJ, because I feel like I skim over it a bit too much, considering the fact that like it was a huge point in the series. I'm going to say in the original, I'm pretty sure they all got 2 weeks off, and I'm going to say everybody gets 1 week off, but Izuku gets 2. And eventually he returns to school, and everybody but Bakugo and Todoroki all come up to him and say, "Thank you so much, you saved us, thank you." And he's just like, "Yeah, no problem." And he sees Bakugo and Todoroki are just sitting there kind of salty, and after this, Bakugo just doesn't acknowledge him, Todoroki doesn't acknowledge him, thinking, "Yeah, he might have saved us, but we still would have done better than him." And so after this, like him and Tokoyami are just like chilling, and they're just having a good old time. So do y'all remember what I was saying about me going off the script like a lot, like super heavily? Well, turns out I didn't even make a script for the sports festival, so I hope you got, or like I don't really make scripts. I just have like a rough outline. If you guys want to see how I format my videos and like my script for videos, I will gladly share that with y'all. Just comment down below if you guys want me to. If this part seems a little bit like I'm gonna do like just bear with me for a second, because it's gonna be good. I'm gonna make it good. I'm gonna try and not make it rushed, but I hope you guys like long videos. So. Anyways, after the 2 weeks, Aizawa just comes into the room and anyways, sorry, I just got a text from my friend. Aizawa comes in the room, he's like, "Alright class, settle down." Everybody sits down, and he's like, "We're going to be having a little bit of a sports festival," and he explains everything that's going to be happening, like how they're going to have 3 major events, and how there's going to be 1 winner, and afterwards they're going to have to pick internships, and he explains the whole ordeal, and everybody's like, "Yeah, there's going to be so much fun," and then everybody's like, "Wait, didn't they literally just get attacked by villains? Wouldn't this be like the prime target for them?" And he's just like, "While that may be true, we want to show the world that no matter what, UA will always be standing strong." And everyone's like, "Yeah." And after this, I'm going to say the 1B situation happens. Bakugo walks out and says, "You're all losers. I'm gonna win." And everybody's like, "Wait, what?" And Izuku just walks outside and he's like, "Yo, what's good, everybody?" and everybody's like, "Whoa, completely change the script. Get that? Yeah, because I don't have one. and they all just start talking to him, and eventually he's like, "Oh, yo, what up, Pony? What's up, Mel?" And he sees Melissa and Pony, and they're both just talking to each other. And all three of them start talking, and everybody's like, "Wait, how do you know those two?" And he's like, "Oh, well, Melissa's my twin sister, and then Pony, we've known and then us three have just known each other since we were kids." And everybody's like, "Whoa, that's so cool!" And they all start talking, and Pony starts blushing every single time she's around Izuku, and everyone gets note of this, and it's like, "Oh, so it's like that." And Pony just like nods, like, "Yeah, it's like that," to people that like come up to her and like say that. I did not mean to say that much, but anyways, after this, the next day I can see the USJ Sports Festival happening, and Bakugo going up and giving his speech of, "I just want you guys to know, I'm gonna win." And after, I do remember why I didn't make a script, because it was like, okay, that's my beat. But regardless, after this, Bakugo's like, "I'm gonna win, blah, 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 blah." And everybody at Midnight's like, "Okay, what a rough opponent that they're gonna be facing." And everybody's like, "Yeah, clap, 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 clap." And eventually Midnight's like, "Anyways, after that, now we're gonna get into it." And everyone's like, "Yeah!" Like, change of pace. And Midnight's like, "Alright, first up, we're gonna be doing a ding 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 ding, a race. It is going to be a 4-part race with a running portion. Wait, not a running portion. A defensive portion, a balance portion, a foresight portion, and a agility portion." And everyone's like, "What? That's so cool." And he's like, and Midnight's just like, "Yeah, I know it is. Now everybody, get on the line." And Izuku's like, "Oh, I'm about to mop the floor with these kids." And he activates his boots and his gauntlets, and he's just like, "Oh yeah." And Midnight's like, "On your marks, get ready, go!" And immediately Izuku just bolts off, not even giving Todoroki a second to even freeze him. And he immediately clears the 0 point area, and what I can see him actually doing is zapping all of the power out of the 0 pointers and launching it out, and frying their circuits to where they're like a little bit more aggressive to hold down like everybody a little bit longer. And then I feel like this is with me at least, whenever I'm going across a balance beam, it's a lot easier when I'm going fast rather than when I'm trying to walk across it. So he easily clears that area. The mine portion, I can see him having a little bit of trouble, but he would just use the static electricity and find out where all the bombs are. And he just, after this, he just wins the race and immediately gets the 10-point headband, and everybody's like, "Yo, that's so cool." And after this, I could see him just being like, "Yeah, I know." And honestly, now we get into the cavalry battle and all of the regular scores as usual. Honestly, I can see him and Tokoyami being paired up, and then I can see Pony joining them and Melissa joining them. So that's their group of 4. Yeah. And I could see Tokoyami. I would see that. Honestly, them having Izuku on the top was such an L. I don't see why they didn't put Tokoyami on the top and then use Dark Shadow in order to cover the headband. Like, I don't see why they didn't do that. So that's what we're going to say is happening, and Izuku is pretty much solo carrying him and on his shoulders, and Melissa and Pony are just like there just in case. Yeah, nobody tries to mess with them. Like, they try, and they immediately get, like, smacked down by Pony and Melissa, and Izuku's kind of just standing there like, yeah, if they don't take care of you, you're gonna get mopped. And Todoroki and Bakugo are smarter on this version. They don't immediately go after Izuku, because they know if they did, they would get mollywopped so fast. And after this, I could see the 1v1 portion going like this. I'm going to say him and Kaminari are up against each other at first. Oh wow, I just realized that makes like a really cool thing. Sorry. Anyways, him and Kaminari against each other, and like Kaminari's just blasting voltage, and he's just like, Kaminari, stop. Kaminari, stop. It's worthless. And he's just tanking all of the voltage. He eventually reaches his max and he just expels it all, like off to a random portion, and he just keeps taking in more and more and more, and eventually Kaminari's like just starts doing his little like stupid thumbs up, like yeah, being his little dumb self, and Izuku's just like, dude, I told you to stop. And he just like flicks his forehead, making him pass out, or like he just flicks his forehead, and Kaminari just falls out of the ring. And so that's how I see that fight going. After this, I'm going to say him and Todoroki. I don't see Izuku really trying to drag out his quirk. I can just see him trying to just bum rush Todoroki and just going over and over and over and over. And eventually, he just lands a massive like right hook on Todoroki's jaw, and Todoroki's like, "Bing!" And he's just like, and he activates his flame side, and he just activates his flame side, firing at Izuku, and Izuku's like, dude, come on now, it's not gonna work. And he just dodges, and eventually he zaps him with electricity and knocking him out. I'm going to say he zaps him with, how much did I say like was enough to knock someone out? I'm gonna say he goes all the way up to like 9,000, like just enough to knock him out, but not enough to like really seriously harm him. After this, I could see him and Bakugo going against each other, and the fight would go something like Bakugo and Izuku are just like talking, and Bakugo's like, I'm not gonna let you beat me. I know all your parlor tricks. You're just gonna try and dodge. So how about I go so fast that you can't dodge? And Izuku's like, dude, you do realize I saved like what, 18 people in the span of not even a millisecond? And Bakugo's like, wait, what? And it starts finally clicking, and he's like, oh, I'm not winning this. And Izuku's like, yeah, no, not at all. And he's like, here, how about this? I'll make it somewhat of a fair fight. And he's like, if I'll deactivate my, how about this? We just run hands only. And Bakugo's like, oh, I like the sound of that, thinking that it's gonna just be, he thinks it's just gonna be a wash, like, and he doesn't know, like, Izuku was training with Amelia, who is hands specialist. That's what I'm gonna say she is. Like hands specialist. And eventually he's just like, dude, I'm sorry, but you're still not gonna win this. And he's like, here, I'll even say this. We can use our quirks, but I'm not gonna use super speed. You can use all of the explosions that you want. And Bakugo's like, oh, that's just gonna make it even easier. And he's like, and Izuku's like, one little caveat. And he goes, poof, and he pumps his fists, and he makes two little like electric brass knuckles, and he's like, I get to use these to make it a little bit fair. And Bakugo's like, use whatever you want. And he's like, but hands only. And he's like, alright, bet. So after this, they just start sparring, or not sparring, but like fighting, and Izuku's just like, weave, pow, 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 landing a hook on his chin, a liver shot, and a gut shot, sending him up into the air, and Bakugo's like, and he spits out and he's just like, man, this is not fun. And all of a sudden, he jumps up, and he punches Bakugo back into the ground, and he clasps his two fists together, and he slams him down like Kingpin. And he slams him back down into the ground, and Bakugo's just like, man, I can't do this. He's just too good. And Izuku's like, see, no matter what, you're gonna lose this, so you might as well give it all you got. I'll give you one thing. I still won't use super speed. Use as much as you want. And Bakugo's just like, good. And Bakugo starts adding like full explosions, like as much sweat as he can generate, and Izuku's just weave, like hitting with a 5 combo, and then the next one he hits him with like 3-4 kicks and 1 kick, and Bakugo's like hitting him with the Itadori like combo. He's saying, I'm left, I'm right. It's like, I'm left, I'm right. It's like, it's just crazy, like. And Izuku's just like, so when are you gonna give up already and just admit that I won? Like, and Baku's like, never. And he's like on his last leg, and he's like, this is my last shot. I have to hit this. And he just goes, poof, poof. and he goes up in the air, and he's like, and he just starts spinning super rapidly, and he explodes himself at Izuku. Oh, it's an impact! And Izuku's like, this might prove a little bit of a challenge. So Izuku, what he does is he activates his like boots, and he dodges out of the way, and Bakugo hits the ground at full force, and Bakugo just like is knocked down. He's like, this is kind of so. And Izuku's like, you actually made me have to use my quirk. You actually made me have to use my super speed. I'm impressed. You fought well, Bakugo. Thank you for the fight. And Bakugo, this leads, like, because he sees that Izuku, like, trying his hardest. So while Bakugo is still pissed that he lost, he's like, he's not having to get chained down because he's just like, of course that nerd beat me. We all saw what he can do. Come on now, it wasn't a fair fight in the beginning. And he's just being like stupid, like obviously like he beat me, like it wasn't really like it was a no-brainer, blah 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 blah. Sorry. After this, I can see them all just going back to class, and I see. Okay, I kind of want to go into a little bit of slice of life. No, I'll get into that next episode. Yeah. So they all just go back up to class, and they're having a good week, and I saw something about internships. Thank you all so much for watching What If Deku Was Born in America Part 2. Yeah, this was a little bit of a weird one. I thought it was going to be a lot better, but then again, my outline script thingy just was completely unfinished, so I'm sorry if it felt a little bit rushed to you guys, or if you guys didn't like it as much as my other ones. I still think it's a great video to watch, but so if you guys enjoyed, please like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. So have a wonderful night or day or whatever you guys are going, whatever time it is for you guys. So anyways, peace.